Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Corvus Cornix, and welcome to Classy Movie Rambles, where I talk about old movies that I found in my closet while cleaning. This week's movie is Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance. It's an action movie from 2012. It's about 1 hour and 31 minutes long, starring Nicolas Cage, Idris Elba, and Karen Hines. And the movie starts with the character of Monroe going very fast on this mountainside up to a castle. He's supposed to find his boy, and when he arrived, the place is under attack by these bad guys. And this kid, which he's looking for, he gets into a car with his mom, and they escape. And Moreau follows them on the road, but the bad guys are on his heel, and they kind of hit him off the road, and he kind of flies off his bike, and he turns and he kind of shoots out the bad guy's tires. And then cutting to Johnny Cage character of Johnny Blaze, aka Ghost Rider, explaining who he is and what he does. So he's basically made a deal with Mephisto, this kind of Satan devil kind of character, pleading for his father's life on his deathbed. And in return for saving his father's life, he put a curse on Johnny Blaze, making him the Ghost Rider, which is this vengeful kind of spirit that goes after all kinds of sinners basically and sucks their soul out. No matter what the sin is, how bad it was, he kind of takes it. So that's what happened. And he wakes up in his shed, and the character Monroe is there. Basically, he's offering him a deal, and he says that if you save the boy or find the boy, we can help you get rid of this curse, and you don't have to be this kind of dual kind of personality basically. And then cutting to the boy, to the mom, Nadia, in this dinner, and this old kind of perverted rich guy is kind of hitting on her, and then the kid kind of enters, and he gets really, okay, you have kids like that. He kind of gets the whole idea behind it. So then the kids steal his wallet, so they have some money to go around by, and then they go out to their car, and then the bad guys follows them up. And cutting back to Johnny Blaze's character, he tries to waken the Ghost Rider, kind of bring him back, and he managed to do so, and he goes after the boy basically. And then the mom and the kid gets cornered by the bad guys, and they get kind of knocked down, and the kid gets beaten and he gets knocked out, and then the Ghost Rider appears. And they attack him, but the bullet seems to have no effect on him, and he kind of kills him off with his chains, kind of more or less disintegrate him. And the effect is really cool with the fire and everything. I mean, they're dated by today's standards, but they kind of look kind of cool actually. And then Ryder goes to get the kid, but then he's hit by a grenade round. And then Johnny Blaze wakes up in a hospital, and there's this nurse going on checking up him because he's screaming in his sleep or something, and he kind of yells at her, and he just wants some drugs or something because his body is healed, but he's in a lot of pain. So he yells at her to leave, and he kind of goes to the medicine cabinet. He goes through all the medicine. He just takes a lot of pills, and then he leaves the room, and then he sees the mom actually and the kid, and he kind of follows them. And then cutting to the bad guy, the one who was chasing the kid and the mom in the first place, is called Kerrigan, and he calls up, this is kind of a badass scene, he kind of calls up the devil, and the devil is this kind of businessman with like sleek, oily back combed hair, and he's like getting off the train, and he has this briefcase, and he picks up his phone. Kerrigan calls him and says like, we have a small problem, we lost the boy. And the Kerrigan kind of says, or the devil kind of says like, okay, I think he's called Rourke, but I'm gonna prefer to him as the devil or Mephisto because that's easier to remember. But anyway, he kind of says, well, why don't you just reacquire the kid? Well, this time there is different. There was like this no, they actually have the kid basically, but he's telling him about the threat of the Ghost Rider. And then the devil says, put the kid on the phone. And Kerrigan puts the phone up to the kid's ear, and he kind of whispers this spell. and the kid kind of screams and he goes unconscious, and Kerrigan kind of asks like, what was that about? What did you do? And he kind of says like this funny line with Kerrigan, you know about computers, don't you? And Kerrigan says, yes, well, I put up a firewall, so now the Ghost Rider can't find you. He's basically blocked out of it. And in the background, in this train station, all these kind of electronic devices kind of like go haywire, and all the numbers and everything get gibberish. So he has this weird kind of, well, he's the devil, he has devil powers. So everything kind of changed around him. It's kind of a cool scene. And then cutting to Johnny, following the mom, and she basically pulls a gun on him, and he kind of tells her to pull the trigger if you can, and he kind of explains who he is, that he's the Ghost Rider, and before he can sense the boy, but now he can't, but he might be able to help her because he wants to lose his Ghost Rider curse. So they kind of go together to find the boy, and the mom kind of tells Johnny's character, and Nadja tells John's character that she made a deal with the devil too. When she was dying, the devil basically came to her and said like, I can save you if you are willing to have my child, which she agrees on, and she survived. And then Johnny kind of explains who the devil really is. He takes many forms, and that, well, he is like all powerful, but on Earth he's weak. So he is a vessel for all this kind of energy, and he can't really use his power because then he will destroy his body. So basically what he needs the boy, because the boy is not 100% human, so he can kind of use the boy as a perfect vessel, then he won't break. And then cutting to the boy in the bad guy's car, and he asks them if he can open a window, and they kind of said nope, and he kind of goes for the steering wheel and he kind of turns it over, and they kind of go careening into a ditch or whatever, or the side of the road, like the railing, and he kind of fastens his seatbelts and they crash, and he kind of crawls out the wreckage, and he tries to run from the guys. I think he runs down to a beach or something. He kind of strains his ankle so he can't run, and then Kerrigan and the bad guys catch up with him, and there's this this is a funny scene, there's this two Swedish per people on the beach, one girl and one boy, and they're kind of drunk, and it's kind of a funny scene because they're talking Swedish, so they say like, hey, vad händer mannen? Hur är läget? Vad är det som händer? It is kind of like, hey, what's going on, man? What's happening? And Kerrigan says like, can you speak like English? And they kind of explain. And then they basically steal their van because they steal their hippie kind of guys' vans, and they kind of leave with it. But it's a funny scene anyway. And then cutting to Johnny Blaze and Nadja's character, they're basically trying to find out where the boy is. So they go to this, I think it's like a nightclub, and they go to talk to this character of Vasil. He's in charge of the nightclub, to get information about where the boy might be headed. So the Ghost Rider kind of uses the Ghost Rider, the spirit of vengeance, to kind of scare Vasil into telling that they're in this quarry, which become later important in the movie, I guess. And then Nadja arrives at Danny's, which is the kid's place basically, and then the Ghost Rider arrives. But this time the bad guys have this javelin, which are basically like some kind of, it's not a missile system, but they throw grenades. Maybe grenade launcher is a good word. But they try it on him, but it doesn't leave as much of a scratch. And then he goes in close combat, and he gets launched into the air, and he kind of, the fire and smoke in his burning skull, it kind of fades, and he kind of crawls into this crane kind of device, and he uses his powers to kind of make it into one of those hell machines. So that's part of his power. He actually converts machines into a part of him, basically. That's part of his power. He corrupts things and makes them powerful. And then what happens is the bad guys get their ass kicked, and Danny and Nadja leaves and in a car or something. And this time the Ghost Rider can sense him, and the Ghost Rider is not, John is not in control of the Ghost Rider at all, and so the Ghost Rider kind of goes for him, But Danny uses his power to kind of sedate him, because he has part of the devil's power in him too. So he kind of turns the Ghost Rider back into John again. And then they go, and then Danny's leg kind of heals up really fast. This really weird scene. And then basically in the aftermath, Kerrigan is left for dead. And this is when the day breaks. So Rourke arrives, and he kind of goes down into this kind of deep kind of vault where he landed from the attack, basically, and he's dying. So the devil does what the devil does. He makes a deal with Kerrigan. So he makes him into this kind of weird, decaying kind of monster with these powers to turn everything around and into darkness. So everything he touches basically decays and dies, and he can also bring darkness around him, making the foe he is attacking basically blind to him. So he kills a paramedic, and then he steals an ambulance, and he goes after the kid basically, and the Ghost Rider and everything. And then we cut to Johnny Cage in a diner with the kid, and he's basically trying to be a father figure, I guess, at this time. I don't really know why. So he kind of tried to pat him on the head, but the kid kind of reacts back. Then John kind of says, like, I was a bee about to sting you or something. And then they talk a bit, and the kid says, you were a lot more cooler than the other guys that my mom used to date or whatever. And that kind of brings a smile to his face. And then John kind of, I don't know if Johnny Cage, Nicolas Cage, I mean, if he's crazy or what, but he drinks like 2 liters of water, lemon water. He just drinks it straight out while he's having like this dialogue with the two on what to do and how to and where to go, basically. It's kind of a weird scene anyway. And then they're on the back of this truck, and they're basically going to a safe place, I guess. And then, oh no, this is kind of this weird scene when the kid kind of asks Johnny, like, okay, what happens? Does all the machines that you interact with when you're a Ghost Rider turn into this hellish machines? Yeah, it does. Like the bike, everything I'm on turns into this bad kind of thing. But what happens if you need to pee? And it's like, well, it's like a flamethrower. And he kind of stands up and goes like imitating him taking a piss. And the kid has this supernatural vision. So you see like the Ghost Rider actually having a flamethrower and like whipping it out. And it's kind of a funny scene. And then they're cutting to Kerrigan in the police, not the police van, but the ambulance, and him actually trying to eat stuff, and because of his decay power, this is kind of a funny scene. He picks up like some sandwich, and it kind of molds, and he throws it away, kind of gets sticky on the finger, and he picks up an apple, a green apple, and kind of corrodes and kind of gets disgusting and stuff. And this is a throwback scene to the previous movie. He kind of, one of the guys get caught in the van while flipped, so he can't get up because he's too fat. And Kerrigan says, "You get so fat, you only get yourself to blame by eating those Twinkies." And then he picks up a Twinkie while he's in the ambulance car, and he kind of takes a look at it, pushes it out of the plastic wrapper, and it doesn't decay. So Twinkies are this kind of all kind of perfect chemically enhanced kind of thing that you can eat, and it won't corrode that easily. So you can actually eat Twinkies without them decaying. I thought that was funny. And then they meet up with Moreau, and they're about to go to the sacred place, where there's like this kind of place where there are basically some monks there, and they're there to protect the boy. And Moreau takes Johnny aside because now he's fulfilled this part of the bargain, basically. So now he can cast off he's about to cast off this Ghost Rider curse. So he has to explain to Johnny what it is. So he says that basically what's inside you is a vengeance spirit of Sarthosa or something like that. And it's basically this angel that got captured by the armies of hell and tortured and turned basically mad, and was turned into this tool of the devils, basically a vengeful spirit. And then Monroe tells Johnny that in order to lift this curse, he needs to be forgiven. So he asks John, like, what is your deepest, most regarded secret? And John kind of explains that he didn't do this for his father, basically. He was selfish. He just wanted his father to live, even though he knew that Rourke, the devil, Mephisto, whatever, was gonna trick him. He just wanted to have some more time with his dad. Pure selfishness. And then Moreau breaks this old piece of bread and he says, "This is the body of Christ." And he kind of hands one bread piece to Johnny's character, and he kind of tastes it. This is a very old bread you've been carrying for a very long time. And then basically what happens is that Johnny goes down these catacombs and he has to do it by himself. And he goes into a room and he gets some light on him. He gets enlightened or whatever, and the curse is gone. And he realized that the rider is totally gone now, and he kind of leaves out, and then he kind of understands the boy is screaming that something is wrong, and the monks or the priest just wants to kill the boy, basically, because it's the vessel of the devil, basically. So if they kill him, they don't need to worry about the devil as much. But everything goes south, and what happens is that Kerrigan arrives and he kills the priests, and he takes Danny with him, and they kind of escape. And Moreau explains that Danny will be the devil's vessel, as we knew all along, and they need to act before it's too late. So they gear up. They take the monks' kind of reserve weapons, and Nadja takes a sniper, and the other one takes guns, and they kind of go there. And Moreau kind of says, "You don't have to go to John," basically, but he kind of says, like, "I have to," and he kind of does a good deed. It doesn't matter. Basically, he just want to protect Danny because it's the right thing to do. He's just a kid, even though he might be something else. But anyway, they gear up, and then cutting to Kerrigan arriving at the ceremonial place. And there's something about this place. I think it's the furthest place away from the heavens, and that's where the ceremony of the devil will take place. So that's it. So he kind of delivers the boy, and the boy gets injected with some sedatives so they can use him in the ceremony, basically. And then Moreau, Nadja, and John arrive at the place, and Nadja takes up a sniping point, and they kind of look through the binoculars, basically, and John kind of asks, "Who are these guys?" He talks to Moreau as they approach, I guess, and he says those are the devil's soldiers, like politicians, murderers, and all kinds of filth, and they're here to witness the birth of the devil, basically. So they take aim, and they kind of go in there. They drink some old wine that he has been having with him, and they kind of go for the bad guys, basically. And they this kind of funny scene, like Moreau picks up this old wine bottle that's over 2,000 years old. He kind of throws it at a guard, tells him to catch it, and then he kind of pulls up this kind of oozing, kind of molding down. And John goes in in the commotion. Johnny Blaze goes in and he kind of punches the devils in the face just when the ritual is about to happen. And it's like this funny scene. And then Kerrigan kind of gets the upper hand because he doesn't have his super ghost rider powers. He kind of holds him in this grip. And the kid and the devil kind of watch, and Danny goes up to the Ghost Rider, and Kerrigan says like father like son, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree or something like that. And the kid is kind of clever. He's not in the influence anymore of the devil because the ritual is broken or whatever. So he kind of tells the devil, the Mephisto, Rourke or whatever, like, your powers are mine, right? And the devil kind of nods, and John realizes what the kid is about to do. He says, just do it. So the kid kind of makes a new contract with Johnny Blaze, and he kind of gives his ghost powers back, and he kind of kick their asses, basically. So what ensues now is like this chase scene. So basically what happens is that the bad guys escape. The devil takes the kid and run, and Kerrigan goes for Nadja, I guess, in another car. And the Ghost Rider gets his powers back, and he kicks the bad guy's ass, and he kind of goes after everyone. And there's this long, drawn-out chase scene where he kind of jumps into a tow truck, and he kind of uses his ghost powers Ghost Rider powers to turn it into a hellish machine and fights off the bad guys. Try to save Danny, basically. And he fights Kerrigan on the top of Nadia's car because she's also following the devil, basically, to try to save her son. And Kerrigan says, like, to the Ghost Rider, "I was never afraid of you." And then the Ghost Rider kind of gets all flamed up and he kind of screams at him. And I think he kind of startles him a bit, and he kind of pushes him in front of the car and he breaks his neck under the wheel. And then they kind of go for the Ghost Rider goes on his car, and they flip the devil's car, and Danny's in it too. And well, the car is upside down. The devil kind of crawls out, and in this state he's really weak. And because of this ceremony, he will be the weakest as he ever been. And he kind of crawls out of the car, and the Ghost Rider kind of tells him basically like, go home. And he kind of takes his devil chains and he kind of pulls up the devil, the Mephisto, and he kind of slams him through the air, and his body goes plummeting down to hell. It's really cool. And the kid kind of is unconscious, and the Ghost Rider kind of grabs the kid, but instead of killing the kid, or you know what the spirit of vengeance would do, he kind of gives it back to his mom. And then Johnny Blaze, the Ghost Rider, turns into Johnny Blaze, and there is something different now, because now he can actually feel, and he understands this angel of vengeance. So the kid is unconscious, possibly dying, and I don't know really, but Johnny Blaze uses his powers to kind of heal up the kid, and he realized that now things are different. And that's where they depart, and he kind of goes on a monologue, and he drives away. And at this time, he's not making the red flames, but he's making the blue flames. So I don't know what happened. Good ending, bad ending, they won, hell yeah. So can I recommend this movie? Yeah, it's a good movie. It's like, there's some kind of weird corny scenes or cringy scenes even, when Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage crazy. I think you've seen the meme. Just Google like Nicolas Cage memes or something. You can see like he's overacting and doing weird stuff. And I don't really know why they cast him in this role, but sometimes he's good and other times he's just really weird. But I definitely think it's a movie worth watching. The special effects is really good for the time, and I think like most of the acting is good. And it also has, one of the priests is actually played by Christopher Lambert, which is the Connor McLeod in the Highlander series. Wrap your head around that. But anyway, thanks for watching and take care.